Sean Hill from the 49ers, maybe. Chad Henne from Miami. I know. I mean, I don't know if he'd be better than Vic, but yeah, dude, there's got to be somebody. I mean, surely he's not just the best available guy. Can't be. Okay, Mike Pendleton over in my other chat room says, go put Vince Young on your bench. He says he sees the second half for Vince Young this year. You know, I want to talk a little bit about kind of what I said last week and kind of what's happening. Last week I was talking about the Tennessee Titans, and I was saying, you know, they're a better team, I think, than their record indicates. I thought they were going to win last week and kind of bounce back. I mean, against Jacksonville, and maybe have a decent season. Maybe not make the playoffs, but maybe have a decent season. Power, I will be nice to your Titans, I promise. Okay, no, I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be. I guess that they're bad. I don't know. I mean, it's thrown me off. I didn't think that they were bad. I thought that their record was bad, but they were good. And they just get walloped by Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is not good. I mean, Jacksonville's not good. There's no two ways about it. And Jacksonville put a hurting on the Titans. Titans now 0-4. And who would have thought that? I mean, 0-4. It's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. And I got to thinking about it. Kerry Collins is their quarterback. Listen, no. Say that out loud. Kerry Collins is their quarterback. Yeah, the same Kerry Collins. That Kerry Collins that's been around forever but never been that good. He's their starting quarterback. Not only is it Kerry Collins, but it's old Kerry Collins. I mean, he's old. And everybody's like, oh, this team, it could be a Super Bowl team. And I kind of bought into it. Oh, this is a really good team. Right? And now I'm sitting here looking at it like, well, of course they're 0-4. Kerry Collins is their quarterback. I mean, come on. Come on. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL in 2009. Give me a break. So, yeah, now after 4 weeks, I'm thinking, you know what? No. It's not going to work for Tennessee. Something's got to change. They need to get Vince Young playing football again or do something else. I don't know. Mike says, Albert Hainsworth isn't a joke. You lose him, you lost a lot. Listen, Hainsworth went over to Washington. And if he made that big of a difference, Washington wouldn't be so bad. You know, I like Hainsworth a lot, but Washington's terrible. He moved over there. He's got 1 sack in these first 4 weeks. Only 9 tackles. Hainsworth has been a letdown. He hasn't been doing much in Washington. I think what happened was Tennessee it kind of caught a bolt of lightning last season. They got off to a way better start than they actually were. I mean, what did they get off to, a 10-0 start? Yeah, and and then reality set in. They didn't go anywhere in the playoffs, and now this year we're seeing the real team. And Chris Johnson's a bright spot. He's good. But not only do they not have a quarterback, they got nobody for them to throw the ball to. They don't have any receivers. Who's their best receiver? Justin Gage? Oh, come on. E. Zeidler says he grabbed Seneca Wallace. Man, can you look at the free agent quarterbacks in your league right now and read them to me? What about Derek Anderson? I mean, Cleveland quarterback Derek Anderson, it would be better than any of the guys that you've named. I guess there hasn't really been any except for Vic and Seneca Wallace. Derek Anderson is better than both of those guys. Hey, good. Braylon Edwards traded to the New York Jets. You know, Diggs called me today while I was at work, naturally, and said, hey, I just wanted to get your thoughts. What do you think about Braylon Edwards going to the Jets? I said, hey, I like it. I mean, and Braylon Edwards owners have to like it, right? Because if you own Braylon Edwards in a fantasy league, Oh, you've been so disappointed. Especially last week. 0 catches, 0 yards. Listen, Cleveland's bad. I mean, they're just a bad team. I think that Braylon Edwards had had enough of Cleveland, and I think that Cleveland had had enough of Braylon Edwards. I think that this is a good move, and I think that Braylon may actually revive his career, in New York, kind of the same way Cedric Benson seems to have done in Cincinnati. And that's what I tried to explain to Diggs. He said, I think it's a bad move. It's not going to be good at all. He's not going to be able to do anything there, and it's just bad for Sanchez to get a guy like him in there. Well, hold on. No. Braylon Edwards has been wanting to get out of Cleveland for a long time. Now he goes to a team that actually has a shot of going somewhere and making a little noise in the AFC. The Jets are a good team. So maybe Braylon Edwards changes his attitude and kind of reemerges as the star again in New York. I mean, they don't have a number one receiver. I mean, they just don't. Cotchery's good, but he's not a number one. Yeah, Michael Crabtree signed. More news out of the NFL. Michael Crabtree finally signs a deal with the San Francisco 49ers. Mike says it's a 6-year, $32 million deal. You know what? About time. It's about time. And I'm a Niners guy. I always have been. It's about time. This guy should have been in camp before the season started. Listen, and I stick up for athletes all the time in the case of contract disputes, because I always say this, and I heard Colin talking about this today, and I don't feel like I'm ripping him off because I was talking about this a couple of months ago when I was trying to defend like Drew Rosenhaus or the other guy, the baseball guy. The baseball equivalent of Drew Rosenhaus. I can't think of his name. You guys know who I'm talking about. Everybody makes these guys out to be so evil, and I say, hey, listen, what all these guys are trying to do is get a few more $1 million for the athlete, the guy earning the money, and take it out of the pocket of a guy worth hundreds of millions, if not billions. And we call the athletes greedy. Oh, they're just being greedy athletes. Okay, what about the guy worth, $2 billion that's paying his check and only saying, you're only worth about $9 million to me, even though that athlete is worth so much more. Yeah, Scott Boras is the guy I'm thinking of. Thanks, Mike. And sometimes when you're just talking, just names don't pop right into your head. That's why I have you. That's why I have my friends here in the chat room to help me along. Also, I didn't have time to make my full, you guys will see, I didn't have time to go through my full fantasy football face punch list, so I'm just going to kind of wing that when we get there. It'll be good. It's nothing makes better radio than just winging it. Forget preparation and planning. Just wing it. Another thing I want to talk about, and I guess I can talk about this as a sports story, because the owner of a prominent racing team in trouble, I guess, kind of. One of the owners of the, what is it, the something with an R, Letterman racing team, something with, anyhow, I guess a guy, Dave Letterman, you may have heard of him, been in a little bit of trouble. And this is not technically sports related, I'll admit that. But I want to talk about David Letterman a little bit. And he owns a racing team, so I can do it. I can. Letterman, if you haven't heard the story, and I can even tie it into sports a little bit for real. Yeah, Ray Hall Letterman Racing, that's what it is. What? Okay, I like to read this kind of stuff. Okay, yeah, the Jets, though, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to the trade details in a little bit. I want to talk about David Letterman. Owns an IRL team, obviously, so I can talk about it. He also on the site, I think, hosts a talk show. You might have heard about it. It's a late-night talk show, David Letterman. In all honesty, I love David Letterman, and I'm a big fan of his show. I find him incredibly entertaining and funny, which is all that I need him to be. And this is what I'm getting at. David Letterman, if you died or went in a coma and recently got revived, maybe you haven't heard about this. Apparently has been having affairs, plural,